All right. Welcome to the Rise Up podcast. I'm your host, Jonah Mitchell. And on this show, I help chronic dieters simplify their weight loss process, rise up to the potential so they can be more of themselves and stop struggling on the roller coaster that is the diet industry. And when I do that, I do my best to help simplify everything that comes from nutrition to mindset. Occasionally I'll bring on some cool people to share their perspectives, and how they've found success for themselves, how they help other people find success. And the more ways you can hear something, the more you can continue to make your own take on it. And really, that's the whole goal of this episode. And today I'm very excited because this is a spur of the moment thing. And it's basically how I do most things is I just kind of have an idea and I just kind of roll with it and we'll see what happens. So today I have a really good friend of mine and someone I've been able to work very closely with for the last little over a year now. Karyn, how are you doing?
Hi, I am great. How are you?
Oh, I'm fan-fucking-tastic. Because it's been a long time. This is way too long. This should have happened way sooner.
Yeah, I wasn't cool enough to be on your podcast.
Okay, all right, chill out. No, this entire the entire year that we've been able to work together, it's been very fun.
Mhm.
And I think before. Like I'm gonna give everyone the person listening to this a brief intro. Karyn is amazing. Um, she is the opposite of what the internet has turned the name Karyn into. And Karyn is spelled with a Y, right? So
Yeah.
that already puts her in a whole nother level. But she's also a mom of two and has an amazing family. She's a badass Spartan athlete, and a crazy person for running all the damn time. I will never run again. Even when I do a Spartan race, I'm walking my ass to the obstacles. And I've had the pleasure of being able to bring Karyn on my team and be able to help her become a amazing coach, and she's been doing so many awesome things. Um, I'm just so happy that I've been able to not only be like a partner, but also a friend for this entire time. And I like I said, this has been too long. So I gave you a brief intro. Is there anything you want to add to that?
You've not only been a friend, but you've also been an amazing mentor. You really have. I've learned so much from you and our program that I will take it with me forever. I have applied it to my own lifestyle and my own way of thinking. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. It really has. It's been wonderful.
Oh, well, we'll start uncovering some of that aspects, but thank you for saying those things. And
Absolutely.
so I've been starting to post these on YouTube, so be ready. You will be on
Oh,
YouTube.
I'll be a
Um
YouTuber. Oh my God.
so yes, if you're listening to this and you learn something new, and you enjoy this, the things that we talk about, please share the episode with somebody, just at least one person. It helps me out a lot. Or if you want to come see more of the stuff that we do, come find us at the Total Mind Body Transformation Facebook group, or follow me on social media, TikTok and Instagram at Jonah Mitchell fit underscore. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, fit underscore nutrition. There it is. I just changed it, so it's all trying to keep all those together. But that will all be linked in the show notes. So, Karyn, let's start with where fitness started for you. Like I said, we had no plan for this, right?
Yeah,
So
no, this is good.
how the hell did you get into fitness?
I have always been, I don't want to say athletic, but I've always been into health and fitness. In high school, I was on the track team, I was on the swim team all through my high school life. Went to college, and I kind of carried that into college, where my college roommate, her boyfriend, now husband at the time, was like super into like weightlifting. Like, I want to say he did a tough man competition or a strongman competition, one of those things. So I would go to the gym with them and I would learn how to lift, and I really enjoyed it. And I've always loved running because I was on the track team. I've always loved running. It's just a way for me to disconnect and put my headphones in, listen to some hardcore metal music, and just run. It was a way for me to de-stress. So yeah, I've always had that bone, I guess, if you will, where I've always been into fitness, into health, into fueling my body appropriately. And I just enjoy moving. I enjoy moving my body.
I love that. Simple.
Yeah.
Movement is medicine.
Yeah.
if done appropriately, right? It's also could be depending on the person. If they're like me and have somewhat of an addictive personality, it could also be a detriment. But that's amazing, always having that background, that athletic background, and just movement in general. And I know this, but I always love being reminded. You weren't always working in fitness, right?
No,
There
no.
was a change for you somewhere down the line. Where was that change at?
In my job, in my career.
Yeah.
So I was a medical biller. I had done medical billing for 16 years. So I was hired when I was like 24 years old, and I stayed there for 16 years. I probably would have retired at that company had COVID not taken a big shit on everyone. And my company my company sold and outsourced everyone. So the entire billing department was let go. I was given like 2 days notice, and they were like, okay, this is your last day. And that's it. They collected all my equipment, and that was it. So that was about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whatever. And I was quickly like sprucing up my resume, trying to find another medical billing job because that was all I knew. And my husband, who has always been my biggest cheerleader and supporter, was like, hang on a second. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, now is a time for you to pivot. Go do something you love to do. Um, and he knows that I've always been into fitness and running and lifting and whatever. And he had mentioned maybe personal training. And I knew I would have to be in person. And at the time, COVID, and I had just had a baby, and I didn't want to be in person. So personal training wasn't really for me. So we looked into nutrition coaching, and that's where everything started. That's where I completely ditched everything that I knew and started a new career path in my mid 40s.
How is that? Because we've talked a lot the past couple of days about change and how things go from you went from something pretty stable for
Yeah.
16 years
Yeah.
and decided to go a completely different route.
Mm-hmm.
How was that entire experience?
It was scary. I'm not gonna lie. It was scary. It really was. I don't like the uncertainty of change. I don't like not knowing what's in store for me. I'm a very type A, detail-oriented, analytical person. I need to know what the fuck I'm doing every single day. And just not having a plan was nerve-wracking, scary, but also really exciting. Like I had never gone outside my box. I was not comfortable with being uncomfortable. So it kind of taught me how to do that. The
Mhm.
whole process of getting certified in nutrition coaching was fantastic. I learned so much. And then after I graduated, I was like, okay, now what? Like, now what do I do? And that's where I found you and Hannah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story because there's some MLM stuff that we'll be talking about here in a
Yeah.
second.
Ew.
But I talked to a woman a few weeks ago actually who kind of went through a very similar structure in her mid 40s, or similar not structure, path in her mid 40s, where she went through a pretty tough divorce and completely uprooted her life and found that the gym was like a career path that she was going to run. So she left her job and started running a gym, and it's very interesting. But the mental side of essentially changing everything that you do in your mid 40s was very difficult. To make those pivots. What was the toughest thing about it, and what was the kind of the aha, like, okay, this is actually meant for me? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So the toughest thing obviously was not knowing what I was going to be doing, not only week to week, but like for the rest of my life. Like I literally would have retired at that former job. I would have
Yeah.
been doing what I was doing until I was old and gray. So that was probably the toughest thing, was not knowing, was the uncertainty. And the biggest aha moment for me, knowing that, okay, I found my niche, like this is what I was meant to do, was probably after I got hired with you guys and I was chatting. My job was to chat with all of our group members and get to know them and whatnot, was chatting with just the group members who wanted help but didn't know where to go. They didn't know what they were doing wrong. They felt like they were doing everything right. So chatting with them, getting to know them, and then having them say, wow, your advice has really changed the way that I think. Your advice has really helped. I think one of our former clients had messaged and said, your tips have been revolutionary. They have completely changed like the way I view food. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so flattering. And now I know that I'm doing something that is fulfilling.
The fulfillment aspect is huge. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think working in health and fitness, it's a passion. I heard this from the guys at Mind Pump. I love Mind Pump. I listen to them so much. God, so much, probably too much at this point. But they say that health, like a job in fitness, is driven by passion. A passion for helping people, and it can also be very difficult to maintain that passion, especially if it's hard to see the change, or it's hard to get the people to get to that point of seeing the change, understanding why we're suggesting certain things, and I mean, we've had our fair share of run-ins with tough clients that we couldn't help the best way that we could, and it's always very difficult to have those conversations, to address that elephant in the room of like, hey, like, we're not a good fit right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so, how do you handle the tough aspects of health and fitness, weight loss, whatever it is? They're all very similar, but when you're faced with that obstacle, let's say with a client, right? Client comes to you struggling with everything's going on right now. The life is busy, job, crazy schedule with kids. Like, what is your go-to advice that's so revolutionary, Karyn?
Oh my gosh. That's a tough one, Jonah.
I know. That's why I do this.
Ugh. I don't, I wouldn't say my tips are revolutionary. I think they're just like foundational things, that they're basics. Like, just get back to basics, honestly. And because you and I speak about it so often in the group and with our clients, it comes natural for us. Like, get your movement in, move with intention, drink your water, focus on stress and sleep. Those things are my non-negotiables. Like, those are the things I focus on even when shit hits the fan. Like, when life is throwing you curveballs, those are the things that I focus on. And that's just really what I reiterate to the clients who are going through the thick of it, is just focus on your non-negotiables.
you know it's so funny that there's so much shit in the fitness industry and the diet industry especially, that completely construes the way that we see weight loss and food and exercise, that the basics are revolutionary, right? What's
Yeah.
the stupid saying? Keep it simple, stupid, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason, okay, all right, I can't say the only reason, but like about 80 to 90% of the time that people are struggling is because they have things that are just way too fucking complicated.
Mhm.
And not complicated as if they don't understand, complicated to implement, right? And this is why, I mean, I do everything that I do, because I feel like I share the story a lot, but I hate complication. I've always hated it when I was going through school, when I was going through like sports, and then when I became a personal trainer, everything everything that I came across that was like super complicated, like once I understood it, I was like, why do we have to jump through 30 hoops to get here? Like, we could have solved so much problems by just getting to like this little key takeaway right here, right? And that's something that I've was so frustrated when I was on my own fat loss journey. When I before, like, I was still a personal trainer, but I only knew about the fitness side. I had no idea what a calorie was. I had no idea how stress impacted my life. I had no idea all the tiny things that like we take for granted because we're so distracted, we're so sold on so many other aspects, that the basic thing, the small things that we control in our day-to-day are what are the bigger dominoes that have so much more effect. And they're so simple, but they're not sexy, right? They're not ooh, it's this new shiny diet. It's the keto diet. It's fasting. It's whatever it is. And we were just talking to one of your clients this morning, and she has friends that are going on intermittent fasting, and she's been with you for almost 6 months, and she's sitting there in the back of her head, like hearing them talk about fasting, and she's like, oh man, guys, stop starving yourself
Yeah.
to do this, right? And ultimately, the basics of moving with intent. What does that mean? Moving with intent is moving in a way that gives you time for yourself, gives you some form of gratification, helps you feel better, right? Not moving to lose weight, not moving because you have to, right? Moving in a way that you enjoy. That's the most important thing. And really, the basics are helping you find you, right? So, like you said, when things are kind of crazy and they're chaotic, you focus on the simple things. How
Hmm.
does someone find those simple, basic things amongst the chaos?
Good question. I think that's going to be different for everyone, honestly. And I think it's going to vary day to day. For me, I have gone through some pretty tough weeks with my older daughter. She's a teenager, and that's been super fun. So we've been going through some stressful times with her, and everything went out the window in regards to my training, my nutrition, everything. I focused on one thing that I could do for myself that day. Some days it was getting a shower. Some days it was getting on the treadmill for 30 minutes just so I could clear my mind. Other days I would find time to work out. So I think it's going to be different for everybody, number one, and it's going to be different day to day based on, like you say, Jonah, like what season you're in. We had a really tough season a few weeks ago. We're getting back out of it, and now I'm focused more on lifting 3 times a week, getting my runs in twice a week, and I'm tracking my foods again. But when we were in the thick of it, like I said, getting out of bed and getting a shower before 1 o'clock in the afternoon was a win for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And everything, that's so good. I've trained you well, Karyn,
you have.
because the only answer for anything when it comes to health fitness is it
It
depends.
depends.
If you want a good answer, right? And a good answer doesn't mean like a good answer that gives you the actual context, right? Because I always hate giving advice that I don't know the full context to, right? So when it comes to what is the basics for me, right? Well, there's 5 categories that we can really justify the basics, right? Daily movement, hydration, eating appropriately when it comes to nutrient dense foods and the amount to the specific needs of your life, sleep and stress management, right? Those are the basics that we're talking about. I guess we could throw in there like in activity, just exercising in a way that you enjoy, right? Those are the basics that lead to weight loss, body composition, body recomposition, and all the massive transformation that people see. And people get so focused on the numbers or the transformation that they're like, "How'd you do it?" When it's like, I did a lot of simple things consecutively. If you do it right, right? If you do it painfully, meaning you sacrifice everything you love, you stop eating carbs, you fast for days on end, and you stop enjoying your life with your friends and your family, like, is that actually success, or is it just more rules? Right. Most of the time, it just becomes more rules and ruins your relationship with food. And now it's really hard to focus on those basics because you already have 30 other things in front of your head. Like my favorite thing is telling people that they can eat carbs and lose weight. They're like, "Excuse me?
You're
What do you
supposed to eat
mean?
carbs.
You're supposed to eat carbs." Oh my God. So many shirts. So many shirts. It's gonna be 1,200 calories is for toddlers. Um, feel better first. You should eat the carbs. You're supposed to eat carbs. I don't know. So many shirts one of these days. I'm gonna get paid for just my shirt ideas, just to help people realize that when you get away from all the shit that makes your life harder and focus on the season that you're in, what's right in front of you right now, instead of all the other things that you're juggling, we can just focus on that and not how little calories you should be eating, how many more steps you should be getting, right? It's okay to just focus on getting a goddamn shower, right? That's fine. That's progress, because in that season that you were experiencing, it's tough. So, I think the hardest part is helping people understand that that's okay. right? It's not a race to the bottom. It's not a race to lose weight as fast as possible. At least the way that we see this process, because ultimately, Karyn, we're here to help people get the results that last, right? Does that happen if we just tell people to, when we say jump and they ask how high?
No,
No.
that does not work. Doesn't work for me.
I mean, it can. Don't get me wrong. Some people who just need to get pointed in the right directions, they do the thing. But really, if we don't understand how to tell what season we're in, how to prioritize these basic things in our day to day, it's what really gets us stuck, right? So it depends on what you should be focusing on, right? So how do we keep track? How do we keep track of that for ourselves? Say someone we haven't talked to yet, unfortunately, which you should change that. You should come talk to us. I promise we'll help you. Say they're just now hearing this right now, and they're like, okay, focus on steps, cool. But like, how do I know if I'm really making progress?
I would say the biggest way to judge your progress is by your non-scale victories and your biofeedback. And your biofeedback is your sleep, your stress mitigation, moods, irritability, hunger, cravings, etc. All of the things that can't be measured by numbers. I think those are the biggest and best measurements of progress, honestly.
Why?
Because the scale can be manipulated by so many things. Measurements can be manipulated by so many things. Progress pics are a little bit different. But I mean, those things, your non-scale victories and your biofeedback, those things don't lie. Either you're sleeping great or you're not. Like something is affecting it. If you're only eating 1,000 calories per day, your sleep is going to be affected. Your moods are going to be shit. You're going to be irritable and short with your family. You're going to have cravings. You're going to be really hungry. The scale might be down, your measurements might be down, but you feel like shit. So you have to feel better first, right? I'm going
Yes.
to put that on a shirt.
Put that
You
on
have
a
to
shirt.
feel better first. That's going to be your biggest measure of progress.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's so simple, right? But our body is always doing what we tell it to do. And if we don't feel great, guess what the least important thing to your body is?
Losing weight.
Losing
It
weight.
doesn't
It's the
give
least.
a fuck about your weight loss goals.
It doesn't give a damn if everything sucks, if you sleep like crap, if you're always stressed, if you're not prioritizing very nutrient dense foods on a regular basis, right? Like again, it's hard to do those things. It's hard to do those things in the beginning, right? Change everything all at once. But this game is not about how little can we eat, how much can we move, right? It's about supporting our body so that it wants to change, right? Everyone has such a fucking messed up view of dieting because of everything we've been told. I blame it on the early 90s and 2000s, or the 90s and 2000s, right? All the gym bros talk about protein, and then all the damn fitness industry models saying this is what health looks like, and all the damn diets are like, oh, here's the one thing, it's just all chaos. I was actually I pick up shifts at a restaurant, and I was serving a woman at a sushi restaurant. I was serving a woman. I asked her if she wanted dessert, and she said no. But can you tell I lost weight? I was like, no, I've never met you before in my life, so absolutely not. I couldn't tell that, but I didn't say that in my head. I was like, you know what? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. How much weight did you lose? Right? Again, you're serving. You have to put on a smile. And she's like, I lost 60 pounds through Optavia. And I was like,
Ugh.
oh,
Ugh.
congratulations.
No, ma'am. And yet you'll see her in about 6 months after she's gained all her weight back and then some.
It's just so, again, Optavia can work well for some people. I've talked to people who've completely loved it and all that fun stuff, but those diets, those band-aids, just, hey, this is the foods you have to eat, right? I think I'm losing my train of thought because I'm going all over the place, but this is kind of what happens. Those things, they don't change the behavior that got you there, right? Just because we can change everything all at once doesn't mean your normal actually changes. And I like to think of it like this. I don't know if I've shared this with you before, Karyn, but like, we know what homeostasis, right? Your body's like happy place. It's set point, right? What your normal is. I like to think of it as a thermostat, right? A thermostat doesn't go from 80 to 60 because you want it to, right? It takes 1 degree at a time to get there. Everyone wants that drop, but that drop requires you to uphold that stress, right? So think of it like this. Here's a homeostasis line. I guess if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see what I'm trying to do. Just follow along, I promise. So here's your homeostasis line. This is your body's happy point. It's the thermostat, right? If we want to change it, let's go the Optavia route, where they vastly restrict your calories and they ask you not to exercise, which is very interesting. But that's a massive stress to drastically reduce your calories, but you will lose weight. So your homeostasis line goes from here, and now it drops, and now your normal is somewhere down here. So great. You dropped to 60 degrees pretty quickly, right? But now you have to uphold this stress, that same thing. So if things change, if you stop eating the food, if you go back to eating what you usually do, your body will gravitate to its old homeostasis, right? Is that fair?
Yes.
So that's not sustainable. That's not the way we want to go, because if we do the thing, if we have a massive stress that we have to upkeep, like it's difficult to do. Likelihood of keeping the results is very, very low, right? Whereas we try to adjust it and treat it like an actual thermostat, right? 1 degree at a time. 1 degree is, hey, focus on you right now. You are super stressed out all the fucking time. Guess what? You got to give yourself 5 minutes. But what about workouts? I don't give a fuck. Like, are you working out at all right now? No. Great. We're going to try and find 1 20-minute workout, and the rest of the week, you got to focus on giving yourself just 5 minutes, right? And that's 1 degree, right? And then from there, it could be your water. And then from there, it could be increasing your workouts. And then from there, it could be increasing your step count, right? By doing that, that stress of change becomes much more manageable, much more sustainable, and becomes part of the process. Am I out in am I out in left field with this one right now?
No, you're good. You're good.
Perfect. All right, just making sure. So in that regard, when you've had to make changes for yourself and make changes for clients, how do you see that process? Similar to a thermostat? Is there another analogy that you like to use or imagine?
So yes, and I've used this before with one of my clients, where you picture like a mountain, okay? And your
Oh, I love
ultimate
this one.
goal is the top of the mountain. If you are constantly focused on the top of the mountain and you're taking your small steps towards your goal, you're not going to realize how far you've come, because you're constantly looking at the apex. You're constantly looking at your overall goal. If you focus on each step, like each stepping stone in front of you, and then you turn around and look, then you're going to realize how far you've come, because you're focusing on one big rock at a time versus the ultimate goal. If you just focus on one thing at a time, everything becomes so much easier.
Is that how you used to view fitness before?
No. Well, yeah, focusing on the top goal. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The big rocks, like focusing on what's in front of you, that I've learned through you, through PN, through like my schooling and stuff. But yeah, I always was focused on what I needed to achieve up here. Yeah.
How did that go?
It was awful. I always felt like I was failing. I felt like I would never ever reach it, because it felt so out of reach. It felt so out of touch. Yeah, it was awful. I always felt like I was falling short.
Which, if we're always feeling like a failure, how likely are we going to continue to
No,
strive?
not very likely at all. I mean, I would stick with something for like 2 weeks and then not realize all of my little accomplishments back here. And then it would cause me to like fall off the wagon or whatever, go off the rails. And then a month would go by and I'd be like, okay, now I'm really going to be focused. Now I'm really going to hone in. And I would last 2 weeks again. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people see it that way, unfortunately.
they do. I think
Yeah.
you're right. It's tough because what do we program to see all the time? Scale dropping, clothes
Weight
fitting
loss, yeah.
differently, transformation photos, right? It's like I'm not there, so what I'm not making progress. I'm not making success, right? But that's not the case. just as you said, I love the mountain analogy because, if you're always looking up, it takes a long time to look like it's getting closer. But when you look at where you started by focusing on those little things, it's like, oh shit, I'm actually way up this hill. Oh God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's so difficult. Like you said, a lot of people struggle with that aspect of like, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I want to be. So they're focused on everything that they lack, right? And I think kind of tying it back into here, what the basics help us realize where we actually are and acknowledge the progress that we're making. Because really, and correct me if I'm wrong here, when you get to your ideal weight, are you done?
No. Heck no. It's a lifelong process. It really is.
Yeah, and that's the tough part about helping people about connecting the dots of like, hey, let's get away from focusing on that apex of the mountain or trying to just get to the thing as quickly as possible, and let's focus on what's right in front of us right now, because then you stop beating yourself up. You stop sabotaging your own success because you're comparing yourself to an unrealistic standard, right? Is there ever been a time where you accomplished something and it was so lackluster, you're like, what the fuck was the point of that?
Yes. Funny you say that. And I was just going to piggyback off of what I just said. When you said, when you reach your goal weight, are you done? No, because it almost feels like you get a little and then you want like more, right? And it's because when you finally get to your goal weight, you're like, oh, well, that wasn't as great as I had anticipated. Maybe I can lose another 10 pounds or so, and then everything will be fine. And then, my life will change and turn around. Yeah, absolutely. That has happened to me a number of times. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so shitty because we put so much pressure on the goal, but when you realize you actually get it, it's not all that cracked up to be.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And again, that's why the basics are really, really important, right? It's not the outcome that we want, but it's the understanding, it's the person who we become that we fall in love with, that we understand the steps because we're looking back at all the rocks that we pushed up or the degrees that we've dropped, right? And saw, oh, that's where I used to be. That's how I used to feel, right? Getting to my goal isn't solving my problem. It's the small changes. Those are solving my problem. The things that are helping me be more like me is what's solving the problem, right? So when we focus so much on the outcome, we detach ourselves from how we actually want to feel, right? And that's why we're trying to help you understand, feel better first. And then you just fall in love with the process of actively pursuing, just not always pursuing a goal, but pursuing the betterment of yourself, right? And that's the thing. I love saying this. I feel like I say this all the time on the podcast, but motivation is bullshit. But like the real motivation that keeps you showing up, the discipline that becomes created is how yourself better than you ever have before, and how to make the best decision for yourself in any current moment, right? Sometimes it's saying yes to the donuts. Sometimes it's saying no to the donuts. But as long as you get connected with yourself, right, you will make the choice that helps you feel the best. And that's not to say that when you do get to your goal that everything's miserable, right? That, oh, I just feel the same way. It's like, no, if you're only focused on the outcome and you got to your outcome, yeah, then it's probably going to be the same, right? But don't focus on the outcome. Focus on you right now, feel better, and then find the process that's going to lead to the progress that you want to see. But now you're more likely to keep doing it because you know it helps you feel better. Right?
You enjoy it. You enjoy the journey. Yeah. Yeah. There's a fitness instructor that always says, fall in love with the person you become on the journey. And now I totally know what she means when she said that, because you're right. Like if your ultimate goal is to just be a smaller size, well, what did you have to do to get to be that smaller size? Did you have to walk every day? Did you like walking? Did you enjoy it? Did you have to learn how to lift weights? Did you enjoy lifting weights? You have to fall in love with the process in order to keep up with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do something that you hate doing, well, the results aren't going to fucking last. Yeah. And that's the toughest part to really accept is like, oh, I have to like what I do to keep my results. Yeah. That's it. I love lifting heavy. You love lifting heavy. We love teaching our clients how to lift heavy, but it's not always the end all be all, right? I have clients who run and swim and do crazy ass shit like that. And I'm like, have fun with that. I'll coach you the best way I can. But I'm not doing any of that with you. I'm walking, I'm lifting weights, and ultimately that's the point here. Right? We said at the beginning is everything depends, no matter where you're at, but it's always the way, the path of success is always the same. Feel better first, then feel more like yourself, execute on very simple things given the means of your life, and you're going to and that's the steps to actually sustaining the goals, right? Not accomplishing it. Accomplishing it is a lot less exciting than you think it is. It's very overrated, right? I was 7% body fat for my wedding, and I didn't enjoy my wedding and my honeymoon the way I should have because of it. It's stupid. I was more self-conscious, and I was terrified to eat on my honeymoon. I was terrified to do anything during my bachelor party and during my wedding because I was scared I was going to lose all my results. It's not, the goal isn't the process. But what I learned through that is what I really, really value. And now how I live my life, because I have a certain goal I like to live in, I know what makes me feel better. I know how to make the modifications. That's what we teach our clients, is what we teach each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is to know what makes you feel best so that you can make those decisions more often, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is fun.
Yeah, this is great.
So what's the biggest lie in the fitness industry right now, Karyn?
Oh, the biggest lie, eat less, move more. Oh, I fucking hate that one. And I remember when I was married to my first husband, so this was quite a while ago, at least 14 years ago, I believed that. Like that was my mantra, eat less, move more. I remember my oldest daughter was like 2 or 3 years old, and I was trying like still to lose the baby weight. I wouldn't eat dinner with them. Like he would have dinner with Juliana, and I would sit there at the dinner table with them but not eat, because it was in my head that I needed to eat less and run more or work out more or get on the elliptical longer, and I was missing out on all of these family memories that I will never get back again. I hate that one more than anything. I really do.
You know what's so tough about that? It's true. If you want to lose weight, it comes down to eating less and moving more.
Mm-hmm.
However, that does not mean doing it so in a manner where you have to starve yourself, miss out on the time with your family, make your life difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's the truth, but it's not the whole truth. And that's the problem, right? There's no context, there's no understanding to actually sustain a calorie deficit, right? It's just how little do I have to eat to lose weight to lose 2 pounds a week,
Mm-hmm.
right? When in reality, it's like, okay, what do I value? I value dinner with my family. I value being able to enjoy certain foods. I value feeling my best in all scenarios, right? Great. We understand what you value. Now we look at what you're doing. It's like, does your actions actually align with your values? Yes, no. Either way, it's like, great. We get to face it and acknowledge it, and then make the appropriate changes that can elicit weight loss with the appropriate level for you, right? Eat less, move more, just as a blanket statement, sucks.
And people take it to an extreme. Like me, I took it to an extreme.
Yeah.
That was something in my head, and I was like, okay, I need to run X amount of miles. I need to work off my dessert, or, earn my calories. It was so messed up. It really was.
My least favorite, like, old fashioned, like, fitness post is like, one, like, 3 pieces of Halloween candies worth 50
Oh,
burpees.
I saw that on Facebook just today when I was scrolling through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
It's
still
still
out
prevalent.
there.
It's still out there. Yeah. And we have to stop this, Karyn. We have to stop it and realize that, hey, this process is a lot simpler than we think it is. We don't have to be miserable. And even if there's something, even if you've been struggling for years with this aspect, small changes have massive effects, right? We're just finishing up our 21-day challenge, and I love challenges so much because that's all we do is focus on these basic things. And if you haven't been a part of our challenge, you should come join our Facebook group at the Total Mind Body Transformation. Probably do one in a couple months, another one in a couple months to start the year. But Yeah, this one was a lot of fun, and all we did was focus on basics and help people understand that food is meant to be enjoyed, not feared. But yeah, all
And
right.
they're seeing success. All of the
And they're seeing
participants are
success.
seeing success. Do you see all
Yeah,
the stories on our page?
yeah,
Just
it's been a lot of
changing those
fun.
tiny things, and they're seeing success.
Yeah, and success doesn't always mean weight loss.
Yeah.
If you're feeling better, the weight loss will come. You can lose
Mhm.
weight, right? But when you learn to let go of the shit that makes your life harder, this process becomes so much more uh, enjoyable and
Mhm.
even more long lasting, right? All right, Karyn, I have
This
one more
was
question for
fun.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is why I do this every week. I like
Yeah.
this is this is my baby. I want to have a very big podcast one day because all I get to do is talk.
Yeah.
Um, so I have one more question.
Mhm.
And you already answered a bunch like this, but what do you want one person listening to this podcast to take away? We walk away from. What's the biggest thing that they should walk away from after hearing our conversation? I know we covered a lot, but like one
Mm.
thing.
One thing for me that was the biggest is to realize that there's no good food and no bad food. Like I had some pretty fucked up food rules back in the day, things that did not make any sense. And just the main takeaway, there's no food that's good, there's no food that's bad. Food is fuel. Period. The end. It has no moral compass. It doesn't describe your self-worth or whatever. Eat what you enjoy and use your food as a tool for whatever job it is you need it to.
I like that. I like that a lot. And just to elaborate a little bit more, like fuel for what you want to do with your life, right?
Mhm.
If you're an ultra marathon runner or an athlete in general, yeah, you need a lot of fucking fuel. Eat,
Mhm. Eat your
right?
carbs.
Eat your carbs. If you're a person who genuinely wants to lose a little bit of weight, be healthy, use your food to help you feel better, improve your digestion, improve your satisfied feeling, so you're less likely to snack and overeat and feel bad about yourself, right? Learn the difference between the terms good and bad. Really, it's nutrient dense and non-nutrient dense, right? That's it. Foods have more vitamins, minerals, and amino acids in them, certain foods, than others, and that's okay, right? And that doesn't mean you can never touch the non-nutrient dense foods. That just means there's a time and a place for them, and there's a coexistence that needs to be involved, and it's about finding the ratio that works for you, right? And that's the ultimate goal that we want to accomplish. I love that. I love that so much. Perfect. Well, that's
Yeah.
super easy, Karyn. Told you I have no plan. I
Yeah.
just wanted to talk about this. So thank you so much for spending the time with me.
Thank you for
I
having me.
appreciate it. Um,
Absolutely.
and I hope you listening found value in this. As always, share this one person if you've enjoyed it. But yeah, I think that's a good one.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Awesome. All right. Karyn, thank you so much. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for listening, and see you on the next one.